Hello, I hope you're all having a wonderful Friday night or Friday morning, wherever you are in the world. We're a couple of days removed now from the Nintendo Direct, where Nintendo revealed the Switch 2 and all the games and all the aspects. And one of those games that we had in there was the Duskbloods, the new IP from FromSoftware. Now, if you're like me, you're a big FromSoftware fan, but you're a little bit cautious about the PvE elements, well, look no further, because now we finally have the creator's voice that was teased during the direct the other night. I'm hoping Miyazaki can give us a few more details on Duskbloods and how it's going to play. Can you please give us a quick self-introduction? My name is Hidetaki Miyazaki, the GOAT. I work at FromSoftware and I am the director for the Duskbloods. Look at the GOAT, look at him. First off, please tell us what led to this title being developed for the Switch 2. A while back, we had the opportunity to meet with Nintendo to discuss ideas, and during this discussion, we presented a rough outline for the Duskbloods. So he's the director. It was still a very bare bones at the time, more of a loose string of ideas than a proper presentation. The concept itself was different from anything we had done before. Nintendo seemed very interested in making it a reality, so that's when the project kicked off. Something they've never done before, okay, interesting. At first, it was being worked on by a small team as a title for Nintendo Switch. However, just as the game started to take shape, we were approached by Nintendo with the talk of the Switch 2, which led us to revamp our development path with this new hardware in mind. The new hardware's focus on online features allowed us to stay as true to the original vision as possible, which was very good news for us. It says that the game differs from most of your previous titles. Can you please give us a little more detail as to what type of game it is? In terms of structure, we consider it a PvPvE title at its core. It's an online multiplayer-focused game with both player versus player and player versus enemy gameplay. An acronym referring to a style of fighting where, in addition to players fighting each other, players also fight enemies. Did you always have some desire to make a PvPvE type game? Yes, I've always found the PvPvE structure very interesting. It allows for a broad range of game design ideas, while also letting us leverage our experience of designing challenging enemy encounters. As a side note, please allow me to address one thing. As previously mentioned, this is an online multiplayer title at its core, but this does not mean that we as a company have decided to shift to a more multiplayer-focused direction with titles going forward. Okay, I think that's going to be news that a lot of people will want to hear and will be very happy about. The Nintendo Switch 2 version of Elden Ring was also announced, and we still intend to actively develop single-player focused games such as this that embrace our more traditional style. Fantastic. That's news to many people. Please tell us more. Please tell us about the game's characters and setting. The game's protagonists or characters controlled by the player are known as the Bloodsworn. Bloodborne. Bloodsworn. Okay. The Bloodsworn are a group whose members have achieved superhuman abilities through the power of special blood. As a general concept, they're similar to vampires, but they are not portrayed as the horrifying monsters you might associate with traditional vampirism. We tried to extract the sort of romantic aspects we found interesting from concepts such as vampires and blood and reinterpreted them as Bloodsworn. Okay. In the Duskbloods, the Bloodsworn are competing for something known as First Blood. As human society reaches an end, First Blood flows in an event known as the Twilight of Humanity. The Bloodsworn are summoned to the Twilight of Humanity across a variety of different times and places in a bid to obtain First Blood. Due to this, there is no fixed era or location in which the Duskbloods takes place. There are more traditional Gothic or Victorian-style maps, as well as those depicting the closing years of the early modern period, like the one glimpsed in the trailer with the train running through it. Yeah, that's like the most modern setting they've ever done, hey? Can you let us know, obviously besides Armored Core, of course. I mean, from like the Souls sort of direction. Can you let us know the meaning behind the title, the Duskbloods? The Duskbloods refers to the Bloodsworn themselves. As mentioned earlier, the Bloodsworn are summoned to the Twilight of Humanity in a battle for First Blood. Duskbloods is a collective term for those characters controlled by the player. So that blood plays a pretty big role in the game. Yes, in the context of this game, blood is more conceptually as opposed to literal meanings like physical depictions of injury. Blood symbolizes one of the game's key themes, the history it holds, the power it passes on, the fates it weaves, and the marker of those who have surpassed the limitations of their own humanity. Superhuman abilities and opportunistic behavior. What are some of the characteristics of the Bloodsworn? There are several reasons we put the player's focus on the Bloodsworn, with one of these being character actions. The Bloodsworn possess superhuman abilities thanks to special blood, so their actions are more dramatic than anything seen in our previous titles. Even basic characters' actions in this game, such as sprinting, super jump, and double jump, are designed to be dynamic and stress-free, and are complemented by each other's own unique weapons and abilities, allowing for a wide range of creativity. Also, and while this isn't directly related to the Bloodsworn themselves, the setting allows for the depiction of firearms and such. I was going to say, yeah, firearms in a Souls game is crazy. Every character is equipped with some means of attacking from a distance. I feel this is one of the game's unique aspects when compared to our previous titles. Hope these new action elements are one area that players will enjoy. Earlier, you referred to protagonists or characters as plural. Does this mean the player will be able to choose from multiple different characters? Yes, there are a dozen characters for the player to choose from, each with their own identity and appearance. I think there are a lot of unique elements to the character designs and the weapons they use, so hopefully players can find one or two favorites among them. Also, each character can be customized to a certain extent, allowing players the fun of building a character that feels like their own. Yeah, cool. The chick with the little Raiden type hat in this guy. And the frog with the big old titties. Look at the teeth on that thing. Can you provide some more detail on the general gameplay loop? The game has a so-called hub area where players can choose their characters, customize them, and enter online multiplayer. Online multiplayer supports up to 8 players. Upon concluding an online match, players then return to the hub, at which point they receive some sort of reward whether they win or lose. Using these rewards, players can further customize their character and the cycle continues. Online matches are generally last player standing, however, there are certain cases where victory conditions differ. For example, players may be tasked with teaming up to take down a powerful boss enemy or find themselves in other special circumstances. So victory conditions are influenced not just by PvP results, but PvE results as well. That's right, some victory conditions center around defeating a boss enemy. Okay, so you can team up to take down bosses, or you fight each other. So a bit like not like a battle royale, so to speak, but I guess like a hunt showdown sort of thing. So victory conditions. Oh wait, I read that bit. I can't think of many examples with that rule set. It sounds very interesting. I'm happy to hear you say that. Regardless of whether it's PvP or PvE, the idea is to provide players with an experience that allows them to learn and hone their skills as they play. We've therefore designed the PvE boss encounters to present a tough challenge and a sense of accomplishment upon defeating them. Okay, good. Good, we still want that difficulty. So players can enjoy improving their own skills over time as they battle. Whoa! Look at the rifle! What is that? It's almost like a Mosin gun or something. In a FromSoft game? So players can enjoy improving their own skills over time as they battle. Yes, although there are a variety of elements in place that keep the game from becoming too stoic, for example, how players conduct themselves during the match is just as important as direct combat. The Duskbloods implements victory points, which are responsible for ultimately deciding the outcome of the match. To obtain victory points, direct combat is of course important, but it's not the only way. Some players may prefer to earn points by avoiding direct combat, instead engaging in more opportunistic behavior. How you earn points is entirely up to you. Additionally, each character can summon an entity to assist in combat, giving players a high degree of freedom when it comes to how they fight and win. Another important aspect is match variables, such as the event system. This system has the potential to alter the course of the match, such as special enemy spawns and additional objectives with accompanying bonus rewards. In the trailer, you may have noticed a giant stone face living in the sky. Oh, okay. This is one example of the events that occur in a match. In this case, the appearance of this stone face affects the environment and changes match rewards, which can have the immediate impact on player motivations and objectives. These events don't happen all the time, and I hope discovering them gives players some incentive to keep coming back. It sounds like even those who tend to shy away from PvP can still enjoy themselves. This was the intention. I personally am not much of a PvP person. I wanted to make something that's satisfying even for players like me. While the goal of the match is to obtain first blood, there are personal objectives that provide separate rewards to the player as well. So I hope these add to the fun of each engagement. Interesting. So they are going to still be focusing on PvE elements, which is good, because I still prefer that. I like the PvP in Souls games. And obviously, with things like Night Rain, I was hesitant about Night Rain, but I ended up loving the network test. So I'm keen for that. So hopefully, this will be some okay, selling me a little bit more on it. In part 3, playing roles and altering fates. What other ways might players enjoy the game outside of combat? One thing I love doing in any game I direct is leaving fragments of lore and world building details, allowing the player the fun of using their imagination to make connections. The Duskbloods is no exception to this. However, we've gone about it a little differently from previous titles. The fragments this time around are found in the previously mentioned character customization items, their blood history and fate. Customizing a character will reveal a piece of information regarding the world and its unfolding story. You customize their blood history and fate? Yes, analyzing and altering a character's blood history and fate allows players to customize all sorts of things, from their abilities, appearance, and inner characteristics to the role they play in the world and relationships with others. Focusing these elements on the concept of blood or blood history and fate allowed for a deeper exploration of customization and is another reason we placed the Bloodsworn as the protagonists. Do you mind sharing any other points you personally find interesting? One area I haven't talked about yet is roles. In online play, roles give players special responsibilities and objectives that often lead to unique interactions and relationships between players based on the corresponding roles. There's probably not much info to go on, so allow me to provide a few examples, but please note we're still finalizing some of the naming and details. For example, if a player possesses the Destined Rivals role, another player is designated as their rival, and they are tasked with finding and defeating the player. Doing so counts as achieving a personal goal separate from overall victory conditions. Another example is Destined Companion, where one player is required to seek out another designated as their companion, which results in a very special reward if they form a bond with one another. A bond, so they have to find each other on the map or something? How do you create the bond? Do you just have to be near each other or give each other something? Who knows? Roles can be assigned to any character via blood customization, allowing players to enjoy role-playing in a literal sense and hopefully adding to the drama of these engagements. Look at these, just mobs. Very bloodborne. Kind of like how players can pick their roles in a tabletop RPG. Exactly. While not entirely intentional, it may reflect on own interests a bit. It might seem a little unorthodox at first, but I hope players will give it a try. That reminds me, I was curious about the winged rat creature seen in the trailer. Can you provide some details as to what role this character serves? The rat creature is so cute. That character shares a similar role with the Firekeepers from the Dark Souls games. Oh! They remain in a hub area, providing the player with advice and guidance. I suppose you could say we tried doing something a little Nintendo-esque in the spirit of the partnership. What do you mean by that? We tried something cute for a change. Although I'll say this character is actually an elderly gentleman. Never change, FromSoft. Never change. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we finish? In addition to creating a PvPvE title, we've tried our hand at introducing a lot of new and interesting ideas with the Duskbloods, from superhuman player actions, a free-form combat approach, and gameplay that's dynamic and dramatic, to the romanticized aesthetic of the Bloodsworn, deep character customization, and fragmentary storytelling. I think there's a lot to appreciate and enjoy in this title, and I sincerely hope players look forward to it. Awesome. Alright, a bit more information about the game. Still iffy a little bit, I would say, but I have no reason not to trust Miyazaki and FromSoftware, because even though I was hesitant about Night Rain, I've ended up really enjoying that and what I've played. So the Duskbloods will be something that I will be picking up on day one. But thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments how you feel about the Duskbloods. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. But yes, have a good rest of your day. Have a good weekend. Bye.